right. Yes, bring it in. Find a seat. Yes, it's actually nice in here. It's not 10 million degrees. Find a seat.
This is where the fun begins.
It's showtime, everybody!
Welcome someone to the front. That is the DSC/Desert Springs Youth alum. She is the hype of the party, y'all. Like, she is literally the hype everywhere she goes. For Dom Roberts, everyone.
Guys, I'm serious. This is a freaking honor. You guys are the coolest youth group ever. DSC. You guys are the best. So thank you, Corbin, for having me. This is so cool.
Absolutely. So Dom, also it's kind of hard to sit on these chairs.
Yeah.
But it's like awkward.
You know when you're like a little short, so you're like trying to sit, but then you can't, so you do what I do?
Well, like
I'm doing a prop. It's called a prop sit, you guys.
Oh my goodness. So some of you guys know Dom, but some of you don't. So Dom was a student. When were you a student at Desert Springs?
Like 2015, 16.
Wow.
I'm like old. It's weird.
Dang. So Dom was one of the students back in the day, and now can you tell a little bit about like where you're at now, what you're doing, and
Yeah, so after DSC, I got saved here actually. I found God. My junior year at winter camp, winter retreat. So if you guys have been to that, you know how powerful it is. I was like the kid with snot in my nose. Like the leaders were like, oh my gosh, I think a demon's leaving her. Like that was me. And so so I got saved, and then I served as a youth leader for like 3 or 4 years, and then I actually live in LA right now. And I started to go to Bible college out there, and I interned at a church called Zoe. And so I've been doing that. I've been doing social media stuff and just kind of the creative graphic world out there in LA. So yeah.
look, she even brought the style too. I need some
Guys.
style tips over here.
You can clearly tell.
So if you need some fashion tips, go to Dom after
No,
this. Make sure you
guys, let me tell you something really quick. I just forgot that it gets like, the enemy's working outside. That is proof that the enemy is trying to do something, because that weather, it's ungodly, okay? That's my message for tonight.
You can amen that. Someone amen that.
Yeah.
Well, Dom, it's so cool to be back, have you back. And I came in right after I think you left.
Yes.
So I missed like the Dom days. I'm so sad that I missed the Dom days. But you guys, Dom is literally a legend, and it's so glad to have you back, and it's so cool. What's it like to be back here? Is it kind of like what does it feel like?
It's honestly such a humbling experience, just because of honestly everything that's happened in my life and just God moving, and I wouldn't even feel called to Bible college, and just saying yes to Jesus was like, it all started here. And I think it's so crazy. I was here on Sunday at church, and I was like sobbing, like just overwhelmed with like all the crazy stuff that God's done in my life. And just the past couple days, honestly, and I think that it's so incredible that it honestly all started here in this room. Like when I was in high school and I had homework and I thought like my life was ending and boys didn't like me back. Like, you know, you think your life's complicated, and then you get into college and then you're sobbing over real homework. Like it's just, you know, it's like God's good in high school and junior high, everyone. Remember that.
So what's one piece of advice, something that you learned here that you would tell the students that are here tonight? One fun piece of advice or just something you want to communicate to the students?
Honestly, it's just like your yes will take you everywhere. And I think that like that's a little more serious, a little more real. But I really want to say that, and I really mean that, because honestly, it's my yes that led me here. It's my yes that took me to LA, and it's my yes that has caused God to give me a platform to speak out on injustices and things happening in the world. So I just think that like, if you have a passion, if God's called you to be a creative, if God's called you to speak out, if God's called you to be a pastor, if God's called you to be an engineer, doctor, veterinarian, comedian, I don't know, I don't care, but just know that like your yes to God will take you there.
Yeah.
Like overnight.
And you even said that, so for those of you guys that know, so Dom, she has an incredible platform that she has been given. As you guys know, there have been a lot of things that have been going on in our nation, not just COVID. Recently, there has been a lot of hurt over the George Floyd murder, and it's more than just the George Floyd murder that's going on. As you might see the news, and you might see all the rioting and the looting, you might see a lot of stuff on social media. But what I really want to highlight, especially tonight, Dom, is the heart behind it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think if we don't understand the heart behind what's going on, I think we miss the bigger picture.
Yeah, so good. And I think like the biggest thing when it comes to finding a solution, right? It's like you can't find a solution to a problem that you don't know.
Wow.
And so it's like, first we need to identify what is the problem. Because it's like, God's not the author of chaos, right? Like God's the author of peace, He's the author of power, and He's honestly the author of order. When He performed the miracle of multiplying the loaves and the fish when He was preaching to the 5,000, what did He do? He said, everyone gather in groups. What does that mean? That means that God wants order. He wants peace.
Come on.
And so it's like, we need to identify that that's the author of God. He's not the author of chaos, destruction, but He's also not the author of murder, right? It says in His word that He cares so much about the sparrows and the grass and the flowers. How much more does He care for us? So it's like right now we need to identify as a nation why we're hurting, why there's this outcry for justice, and more importantly, like what does that look like for us to be the solution? And I think that if there's a youth group that can be a part of changing the world, it's this youth group right here. And like, let's talk about it.
That's so good. And I touched a little bit last week. So I'm actually from Minneapolis, and actually 2 blocks from where it took place, right across from that Cup Foods.
Dang.
And it put things into perspective, right?
Yeah.
For me personally, it like hit at another level. It's like this happened like right where I was.
Yeah, it's personal.
You know, and obviously it's someone's life. So that also hit me, and I'm like hurting, and I'm hurting, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, I'm hurting,
Wow.
and I don't even fully understand.
That's real.
I'm hurting as a white man, and here's the thing, we're gonna go deep, and it's probably gonna make you a little bit uncomfortable. What I don't want you to do is instantly shut down, okay? I really don't want you to instantly shut down and shut off to what's being said, because I want you guys to hear, because if we don't listen, I don't think we fully understand.
Yeah. 100%.
And I don't think we get the full picture of what's happening.
Wow.
And it put things into perspective for me on a geographical level as well, because that's right next to where I used to live. Again, but I thought about it, I'm like, it's affecting more than me. So Dom, I thank you, because I know that when you're speaking out too, it comes from a place of like experience too.
Yeah.
And I just really want more than anything for us to understand and for us to really dive deep and pray together what's really going on. And I want us, again, like she said, to be the solution.
Yeah. And I think like to go there, right? It's like us to recognize that it's like a family. Like we're a family right here. And it's like sometimes with family, right? Like, have you guys ever gotten into an argument with your parents, or just had like real, honest, like family meetings where everyone's like sobbing and you're like apologizing to each other and you're like, go, you can't even like put words. And I just think that like as a youth group, it's like we need to go there, right? It's like you guys are mature enough to understand what's happening in the world, and honestly, you guys are even mature enough to be a part of the solution. So it's like tonight, this conversation is going to be real and it's going to be honest, but at the end, there's going to be a solution at the end of it. I think there's no point about just talking about a problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't you hate when your friends just talk about a problem? You're like, girl, stop. Enough. Cut the cameras. Enough of you. Like, I can't. Girl, we need to come up with a solution. And so tonight, I'm hoping that that's my goal and my heart behind it. It's like I come from a place of love, come from a place of empathy. I come from a place of like, I hope that you guys understand me and try to understand me. And like right back, I want to show you guys the same respect. It's like, I want to understand you guys and where you fit in this puzzle. And so that's honestly my heart behind this talk that we're going to have and stuff. So.
That's really good. That's really good. So Dom, I want to ask you a series of questions and just speak from the heart.
Yeah.
Again, God's given Dom an incredible platform. You have how many followers now on Instagram?
I don't even
Not
know.
to throw it up there, but she has probably 25K,
30.
30,000.
You check.
It's
Wow.
more guys now. Come on, stop.
And one of my favorite things that you said, Dom, one of my favorite things that you said, and something that has been blown up and reposted by like famous people. You said even Instagram, I think, reposted
Like
it.
the Instagram, I was like crying. I was like, God, what are you doing?
Yeah, and it said, don't avoid something.
Don't ignore something.
Don't ignore something just because it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
And that's super powerful because, again, like I'm saying, this is something that is really uncomfortable, okay? And if I'm being real, it's really uncomfortable also because the majority of us are white, okay?
yeah.
If we're keeping it real. For real, like
It
if
is
we're
what it
keeping
is.
it
It's
real.
like, yeah, I know. Straight up.
So, we're going to have to get uncomfortable. So, Dom, I guess if you could explain just what led up to this with like the George Floyd situation. I
Yeah.
could explain it either way. I don't know.
Yeah, so, like, as far as everything that's happened,
Yeah.
yeah, so, just kind of what took place was an injustice done, right? It was an injustice done because it was a murder that took place clearly, and unfortunately, even worse, there was a video because of it that's circulating, and I think what's even worse is that it was done by someone we're meant to trust, right? An authoritative figure. The police aren't bad,
That's right.
but it was
True.
someone who made a really bad choice, and
Right.
it's like, as people who follow God, it's right, you're supposed to trust authority, but it's like, we can't ignore that an authoritative member committed something that needs to be upheld by the law. And so it's this really weird middle ground, right? Where we find ourselves where it's like two extremes of people being like, don't trust the law and we need an anarchy and this. And there's the other extreme of like, no, he just made a bad choice and he didn't mean to. And then there's the middle ground where I feel like a lot of us are, right? Where it's like, this was wrong. And there needs to be something that happens. And the space in between, and it's like, okay, so now what do we do? This has taken place. There's injustice that has taken place, and it's like, so many people have gone to the streets out of anguish. I think it's like so important to understand that like so many people are speaking out about the rioting and the looting, and it's like, honestly, we can't forget that someone was killed. Yeah. And even worse, that it was on video, right? Like that's real. That's just the situation at hand, and I think that as Christians, we need to process that. And we need to understand that we need to be agents of change.
Yeah.
Right? That was Jesus. Jesus was
Wow.
the number one agent of change. I think that people forget, they're like, Jesus was not woke. He was not with it. And I'm like, I need you guys to understand, like, on a cultural context, Jesus was the one who was the kingdom of earth, right? What do we value? Money, greed, power? What did Jesus value? Yeah, the people, the underdogs. the people who couldn't, the victims, the people who couldn't speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have to notice that.
Yep.
That's us. We have to be the church that honors the kingdom of heaven.
Wow.
And so what does that mean? It means we honor people, we speak out against injustice, that we want to see a change happen for the better. And I think that's exactly what God's trying to create, is like, to him be the glory. We need to become a society that's anti-racist. And it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
okay,
right.
so how do we do that? Well, you don't just eat an elephant, to address an elephant in the room, you can't just take an elephant out in one bite, unless you're a monster. I don't know. Some of y'all might be.
Pretty amazing.
I don't know y'all like that.
Catch that picture.
But I'm assuming that y'all ain't. I'm assuming that you guys are good-intentioned people that are honestly just as outraged as me. And so how do you take on an elephant? You take it on bite by bite. We have to take this issue on bite by bite. And there's a lot of grace, there's a lot of compassion, because that's exactly how Jesus was when he spoke out about injustices. He didn't just come for people, he didn't yell at them, but he came with grace, empathy, compassion. That's how Jesus met me at this altar. He never yelled at me. I don't follow a God that yells. I follow a God that listens to me, that hears me, and is so kind to me.
Wow.
And I think
Yeah.
we need to have the same approach in the world when it comes to speaking out about this. We can't let our emotions get the best of us.
Yeah.
We can't let our anger get the best of us. It's like we really need to take a second and come together as a church from a place of love, peace, and empathy. That's so important, I think.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think too, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I also believe it's not just like a black and cop thing, right?
No.
I believe that it's probably something so much deeper, and there's like been hurt
Yeah.
and maybe years of oppression that has
Yeah.
to do with it. And can you maybe just explain
Yeah.
what that looks like? Because I think that plays a factor into what's going on as well.
Yeah, and I just want to be really careful when I say this. I don't want you guys to twist my words or think that I'm coming up against, police officers or anything.
Right.
That's, as citizens, we need to be under authority, right?
Right.
On a level of systems, we need to be under authority of God, right? That's our number one authority. And then it's just like Americans, we're under the authority of the law, of police officers.
Right.
Just like you guys are under the authority of your parents, like I'm under the authority of my parents. Like it's levels. It's
Yeah.
a system. It's the order that God honors. He doesn't honor chaos. He honors order. But there's a really big but, and it's just that this system that everything's been built off of, the foundation of a house, right? I'm going to use the analogy of a house. If you build a house and the foundation of the house isn't sturdy, it's not built on a good foundation, I don't care if this house is a house in West Elm, looking cute, Beverly Hills, girl has a Porsche out front, my God, look at this house. But the foundation is bad, it does not matter. It's a foundation that's not going to last. And so what we're seeing here, right, the outrage, the outcry, God help us, heal our lands, right? I think that's what we want to see, and it's like for us to do that, we have to pick apart this bad foundation. And yes, we still need to be under the authority of the police. If something bad happens, if my house is on fire, do y'all know who I'm calling? 911? Like, don't get it twisted. But at the same time, it's like this institution has been built on a bad foundation that's honestly been built off of racism. And as Christians, we need to understand that, and we need to know where we stand when understanding that this institution, we've never fixed the genesis of the problem, right? We just kept putting coat after coat after coat after coat of paint on top of the problem, and now we're sitting here hundreds of layers deep of paint, and we don't even know what color of the original wall was. That wall might be white. At this point, it's the color of the rainbow, because we have just put so many coats of paint over the original problem. And it's hundreds of years deep of problem that we've never addressed. And so that's a slow peel back, a slow peel back of taking apart things that honestly are probably within us that we don't even realize. And I think the biggest thing is like, I'm not here to yell at anyone. I always say that like on Instagram when I like post things and talk about real issues happening in our world. It's like, I'm not here to yell at anyone. I'm here to stand alongside you. I'm here to educate you. I'm here to hold your hand because Jesus held my hand when I got it wrong. And I think that's what we have to do as a church, right?
Wow.
We have to hold people's hands when we get it wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, to address racism, it's like you can't come across hot. If someone's yelling at me and I got a problem, let's say, right, I'm a drug addict. I'm not, but let's say I am, okay? I'm not. Let's make that clear. Mom, Dad, I'm not. But if I'm a drug addict and Corbin here, my really good friend, is like, we need to talk to Dom. She's got a problem. Corbin's not gonna, if Corbin yells at me, I'm gonna be like, bruh, I don't even know you like that. Like, you're trying to come at me. Like, don't talk to me right now. But if Corbin comes up to me and is like, Dom, I love you. And I know the true person that you are. And I know that you're called to a higher level of living. And this you that you're walking in is not the true you. This is not the full potential of who you're called to be. I'm going to do whatever it takes to help you. I'm going to be your friend in this. Whatever it takes, I'm with you through the whole thing, the whole process.
Wow.
What is that? My defenses are down. Because in my heart, I know that I have a problem. And that's how you address it. And that's with any problem. This goes beyond race, right? When you approach anyone with a problem, that's how you have to go, with love, empathy. That's what Jesus did. The tax collectors. Zacchaeus, come to my house. Zacchaeus, up from that tree.
Right.
Come into my house. Come eat dinner with me. And it's like you never see Jesus. Yeah, we've seen Jesus flip tables. There's a time and a place, but we've also seen the same Jesus that, as a tax collector, sits down with a prostitute and meets them at a very real human level. And that's exactly what we have to do when it comes to attacking and becoming an anti-racist society.
Yeah, and I think that's so good. I think it's interesting when we hear the word like racist, and I think me personally, like me hearing that, sometimes I'm like, I just want to shut down. That ain't me. Like, you know, like,
yeah, no, that's real. Come on,
that ain't me. And
Yeah.
you know, it's hard to hear that. And maybe if you could describe what that means. Like if you could just break that down for us, because I don't want us to instantly shut off to that. Because I think you said that, man, if I have a problem, like I kind of want it addressed.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
but sometimes we don't even know that we got the problem. Like sometimes we don't even know we got it bad. You know what I mean? And we need someone to address it for us and help us understand. So could you break that down for us?
Yes, and so, dramatic. Jaden's not dramatic, but she's my friend, so I can say this, okay? It's
Shots
fine.
fired!
She's a little dramatic.
I'm like, don't bully her. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like, we're gonna talk about bullying next. No, I'm just kidding. But let's say Jaden, low-key, she just got the cold, right? But me, I'm in the hospital, and I got a broken leg. Has anyone had a broken leg? Has anyone broken anything? I haven't broken anything, but I'm imagining, right? You're like, yep, I have. Okay. If I have a broken leg, like it's bad, like the bone's popping out, you know, like people are fainting. Yes? See it in your minds, okay?
Yeah.
Jaden just has a cough over here, but I have a broken leg and the bone is sticking out. My God. God, if you see me, if you know me, get me a doctor, right? That would be you. That would be you because that would be me, okay? And we're family, we're the same, so I'm assuming. And when you say all lives matter, and it's like I got the bone sticking out of my leg, and Jaden just has the common cold. When you say all lives matter, it's just saying like, well, okay, doctor, go see Jaden first.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yep.
but wait, doctor, I need your help right now. Hello?
This is good.
Hello? Bone? Bone? I don't think that's right. I wasn't born with my bone sticking out. God a real level, when you're saying that, you're really saying, okay, and have a crisis. My life matters too. What's the big deal? Okay, so black people have been oppressed. We've seen them killed on video. That's real. They had to sit in the back of the bus at one point. Okay, so get over it. You don't have to sit in the back of the bus anymore. This doesn't apply to me. I don't care. All our lives matter. But the reality is, it's like, the game hasn't been fair to begin with, right? And so we need to come to understanding as a country that to equal the playing field means that if I have a bone sticking out, the doctor needs to see me first. And then he can go see Jaden about her
Right.
cold.
Doesn't mean that the doctor doesn't.
Doesn't mean the doctor doesn't care. The doctor's going to see her. But Jaden's not about to die from a bleed out, right? This is an urgent matter, and that's what it means when I say Black Lives Matter. It's just like, this right here, no one's tearing up cities, right? I mean, we're seeing, not just in Arizona, our own backyard in Scottsdale Fashion Square. What? This is happening in our backyard. I was in LA with the riots and the protests. Y'all know how fast I drove here? I'm 10 minutes away from downtown. Rubber bullets, my God, no. I'm trying to live, y'all. I mean, let's get real, right? And so I think we need to come to the understanding that there is a crisis. That there is a whole people group for the longest time have had a broken leg with the bone sticking out and the blood trickling down their leg, and every time over and over again the doctor has gone to see Jaden with her cough.
Wow.
And so the outcry right now that we're seeing where you're like, okay, well, why are they looting? Why, God, why? You know, like, where is that coming from? Well, that's coming from the place that, like, I'm about to bleed out. It's coming from a place of, I have been sitting on my rested assurance, waiting for the doctor to come up to me and deal with my broken leg that's been bleeding for so long, and he hasn't. So let me shake up this doctor and get his attention. And don't twist my words with saying that destruction, what I say, God's not the author of destruction, looting, chaos, riots. What? That's not the God we serve. But at the same time, there's so many people who are so upset because they have an injury that hasn't been dealt with, and so they're like, I don't know whose attention I need to get right now, but we need to get this fixed yesterday.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, we need to deal with this. We need to pray about this. We need to worship, and even more, we need to have action after this.
Wow.
And I think that's what this talk is all about, right? This isn't a politics. Jesus wasn't Democrat nor Republican.
It's not politics.
It's not politics. We're talking about a human rights issue.
Life.
We're talking about life or death.
Yep.
You can rebuild a skyscraper, right? With the right resources. I can come up in here with my Bob the Builder hat. Girl, I'll get you a cute little farmhouse. What style you want? Industrial,
stylish, too.
farmhouse, girl. I'll make it cute.
Should probably come in with stylish too.
HGTV up in here. I'll pick your crib, girl. But that is what people are focusing on. The privilege lies in the fact that you can say, oh, so horrible, a black man died. But the rioting, the looting, that needs to stop. Nah, your emphasis is on the wrong part. You need to change that up. You need to flip it. It's horrible that there's looting and rioting.
Right.
But a black man being killed, black people being killed, injustice happening in the world, that needs to stop. And it's like, I'm challenging you guys. You guys, I'm not up next, right? I'm the one who's on now. You guys are up next. This is me. Take the mic. Take a stand. Stand up for what's wrong. Your friend says the N-word, shut him down. It's like, Jesus, we forget. Jesus was the man who was flipping tables in the church. What? Gangster Jesus came out. He said, hello, we got a problem here. This is unholy. yet? Look, little anarchist trying to flip a table. Ooh, Corbin, pray for him. But it's like we need to have that same approach, right? And I think it's so encouraging. It's like, I'm a product of this youth group. I'm a product of sitting under the leadership of Pastor Brad and Becky and Corbin and Josh and Hannah and Griffin and Monica and all the people that are in this room. Like, I'm a product that you can be what I'm doing right now. And maybe you're not called to do what I'm doing, right? Because I think it's a call. But I think we're all called to some sort of action. I think we're going to have the next voices that are going to lead a generation right here in this room. I'm declaring right now that I'm going to have someone in here that has quadruple the platform. That goes quadruple what I do right now and whatever I start. Because honestly, this just started 5 days ago, y'all. I had barely 1,000 followers. My mom was my biggest follower. She was my #1 fan. Commented on every photo. Girl, you look good. Thanks, Mom. Like, you know, it's real. My mom, she's my #1 fan.
It's awesome.
And out of nowhere, honestly, if I just want to be honest, like, I woke up that morning seeing a video of something horrifying and traumatic happen, and I woke up. And so I did what I knew how to do. My background is like creative, like social media, whatever. And I made this graphic that says, don't ignore something because it makes you uncomfortable.
Right.
And I posted it with an action step of who to call so we can receive justice for what happened. The next day I wake up to thousands of people, like celebrities, like Reese Witherspoon, I'm your biggest fan, girl, posting my artwork that was honestly inspired from a place of hurt, but honestly inspired from a place of God calling me to action. This youth group is a youth group of action. And no longer are we going to stay silent to what's happening in the world. And so I know we've probably gone crazy over time, but this is a real conversation that we need to have as a youth group. And if right now, like, I want to leave you guys in a place of knowing that, like, you have leaders here that are sowing into you, that are going to take you to the next level on how to raise your voice. And you don't have to do this alone. I got you. Corbin's got you. Griffin in the back, Monica's got you. Josh got you. You have Adrian Gabe, they got you. Like, there's so many people in this room that want to see you succeed, and it honestly starts with us, right?
Christian got a little disappointed.
Christian, y'all stop. Y'all know it's Christian who runs this game. Come on. Let's not act. Let's not forget. He cuts my mic. I'm like, oh. Okay. Real.
That's so true.
Okay.
Well, I think that's so good because we've all been called to action.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's so easy to sit on the sidelines and to watch everything go by and to watch everything happen.
Yeah.
To maybe think that, like, I can't make a difference. I can't maybe have an impact on this situation. I'm white, you know, like, or, you know, I don't have a voice in this, you know, maybe I don't have followers or I don't have this or that. And I love what you're saying. I think you're just speaking to the heart. And if you could just summarize in not one sentence, because that's really hard to do.
I'm like, yeah.
But the heart, just like the heart behind it, because I think, like you said, it's easy to look at like the rioting, it's easy to look at even George Floyd being killed, but there's something deeper.
Yeah.
You know, so if you could give our students like, just like a takeaway.
Yeah.
You know, because it's more than just the George Floyd situation. I mean, this is like you're even going back on the history lesson, like it's years and years of oppression, you know? It's years and years of feeling like this, and you can see the cries, you can see everything that's going on. There's people that are hurting.
Yeah.
There's literally people that are hurting so bad.
Yes.
You know, so what would you say about the heart?
I think the heart behind this is, what are the two greatest commandments? When Jesus spoke, he said, to love your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love him above all else, right? The second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, we're a reflection of, we're made in the image of Christ, right?
So good. Yep.
So what does that mean? To really love people like we love God.
Wow.
And not like in a weird like, okay, God above people, okay, what's like, no, but it's like God right under that, with no space left, right under that is people. So if those are the two greatest commandments, Jesus didn't even pause. He said,
He didn't even, like the dude didn't even ask, well, what's the second? Jesus like, I'm just going to address the second because it's that important.
yes. And so it's like we need to know that that's how we see people. It's right under loving God.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we need to think and we need to reflect. Well, how do I love people? Honestly, let's take it a step further. How do I love myself? I think you can't even begin to start to love people. You haven't even addressed a love for yourself. I think the bigotry and hatred that happens in the world really starts from what? Misery loves company. We hate ourselves, so we hate others.
Wow.
I'm believing that
Wow.
tonight you guys will get freed of a hatred that maybe you even have for yourself.
Wow. Maybe
So
you didn't
that-
even know about
That
too.
you didn't even know about too.
Yeah.
That you were holding a hatred towards yourself that's causing you to hate people. And it's like tonight I want to address this. Like we're gonna go into prayer and worship and all of that, and I'm gonna
Yeah. Could we have Claire and Chad come up here?
yeah.
Yeah. And Dom, can we give it up for Dom again?